Disney.
Now, is there a technically way you're supposed to wear
There
this?
is.
Do you want to?
I don't ever know until I put it on.
See how it's got the angle? Do you want the angle?
There you go. It says left and right.
Yeah, it says somewhere on there.
Right there.
I've never even seen that.
That's right.
It's right.
We're uploading that part.
Oh, nice.
Uh-huh.
See, it's all the
Mic check, 1, 2.
pre-podcasting stuff that is good. You got the Aragog on your mic. That's great.
I'm telling you, man. That's...
All right. Well, dudes, appreciate you coming on. We're already recording, so good to see you guys.
Hey, you too.
Jiu Jitsu Unraveled episode. Either you dudes watch where I had Braden on the other day. Braden, he's one of Eric's students.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. Good talk. I did private lesson with him while he's here for a purple belt, but his leg lock game, dudes, is off the chain. I'll say this time around at the AGF, which is what we're talking about, I noticed like one of Edwards' matches, he was doing like crazy leg locks and he did a calf crusher, and I'm like, is that legal? Is that legal, guys? And then like the other coach, that dude from Lawrence County, was like, is that legal? We didn't know, because like, man, how AGF does their no-gi division is hard to keep up with what level you can, because it doesn't cross over with belts. It's time, which is just more to remember that's outside the industry standard. So
was it legal?
Was he no-gi or gi?
He did all legal moves. Yes, he did. So yeah. I'm gonna see about turning you up just a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
I probably need this plugged in, don't I?
Is it not plugged in? Oh, your microphone. Okay, that's why we can't. Why you probably can't hear us. You don't have to have the microphone or the headphones on now. You just take them off.
Okay.
Can you hear Justin talking to the mic now? Or
no, this isn't.
You talking to your mic right now?
Oh, hello.
I can't not hear you through the.
2.
I'm not hearing you through the headset.
Yeah.
There we go. Try now.
Tenfold.
There he is,
Check.
loud and clear.
Forgot to turn you up before we started, man. My bad. I need an audio engineer in here. It's really ridiculous. Like
the kind of guy like on Joe Rogan, he'll ask the guys like,
Jamie?
"Hey, what if
yeah,
you need a."
Yeah.
Well, we have some. I say it makes a big difference. We have somebody helping with the YouTube channel filming now, and like we get more comments, engagements on the videos because he like dynamically moves around, and it makes a big difference.
So the movement helps.
I think. Well, like I'll be like, let's say I'm a stationary camera. Mm-hmm. And I'm showing something over on the other side. You're never going to see that, and it's important detail unless I'm like, oh, hey, let's move. Some instructionals are done on a stationary camera though, but I like the dynamic shots, and we've been getting more engagement because people are like, oh, okay, I saw that one thing. Is what I think. Get more comments every week and stuff. So, congrats on your victories, dudes. Let's talk about your AGF experience. So, you guys are both Masters Division, right?
We tried to sign up for seniors, but there was.
So you can sign up for seniors now, right?
Yeah,
so
40
you're
years old.
You're 40. Happy birthday! You just turned 40 the other day.
Sir.
What's that like? Just in general.
You know what's funny? I feel like I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 36. Mm-hmm. So for the first 2 years, I could train and not really feel it. But the last year, to be honest, like after we train hard on noon class, I'm ready for a nap like 4 o'clock. Every day I run into Hausnick or McMillian at the kids class, and I'm like, dude, I'm ready for a nap. Every Monday, Wednesday. I feel like that's new, but I still feel like I can do everything. Just my body needs. I feel like I'm at the point where it needs more recovery.
Yeah. You ever read Danny Dring's book?
I need to.
Do you have a copy?
I do. I got a signed copy.
Yeah, I got. If you remind me when we get done here, I'll loan it to you. But it's all about active recovery. Like it might not reduce your need to take a nap, but it might reduce some pain levels and stuff. But it is a good book. It really is.
Yeah.
And he collaborated with some other people on it too that were experts in medicine and stuff like that. Very cool. Nutrition. So, but yeah, that's something, man. I'm only 32, but I've been doing martial arts a while. Not as long as this guy. But
I'm old.
Like, man, I woke up this morning and like I've been getting these neck procedures done, the upper cervical spinal alignment. and they punched my C1, the Atlas, with this little piston, just like, and I'm fine for like 3 days. But then like my other side, not the side that's hurt, like I got my range of motion this way with no pain is unlike it's been in years. But it makes this over here for like 2 weeks after insane. Like I woke up this morning, it was at the AGF, for example, I was like having nerve pain when I would do that. When I would do this, these two fingers would go numb. Yeah, it was weird. It's not going on right now, but it's like what he explained it to me is everything's kind of pushed back where it should be over here. So like my nerves and everything have kind of moved to where they shouldn't be. That's part of the process. This dude's kind of wild, man. He's a specialist, the only guy in Arkansas that does it.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's here in Russellville?
Morrilton.
Oh,
which I'm there every day.
Right on.
So dude sees a bunch of people and is like, his name's Dr. York. Michael Astor told me about him.
Very
so
cool.
Yeah. All right. So what overall? Let's say you first, Justin. What did you think about the AGF? Good experience for you?
Yeah, I think so. I had a lot of fun.
How many matches did you end up having?
I had 1, 2, 3 matches. So unfortunately, we had a couple of guys drop out. We were joking about
what was his name? Taylor.
Taylor he got hurt in no gi. Good guy. That's one thing about I say consistent. I compete once a year, pretty much. I did twice this year, but when you do that enough, once a year ends up over the years comes consistent. So I'd roll with him last time. So that was kind of cool. I saw,
and he's even come and trained with us before.
Yep,
we
he came. That's right. He came over to talk to McMillian, then came and talked to me. So I was bummed that I didn't get to roll with him. And then we had 11 in our Masters division at first, and then it dropped to
5.
It was to drop to 8, and then by the time me and McMillian were the only ones in the line for a while, I was like, well, I guess this is what's left of the old guys. We were laughing about that because I wonder how consistent that is with older divisions. The guys who do no gi and a division match, who makes it to absolute.
Was that guy I was talking to Roland about that guy's trying to Tomonagi y'all with the double foot Tomonagi.
Yeah,
was he close to you guys' age, or was he younger? Was he under like in his 30s?
He was in the Masters division, not the seniors.
Okay, yeah.
I bet he was early 30s.
First, what do you guys think about that? Like, I get consolidating a master with the senior division. I don't like it, but I get consolidating masters with adult. But a reason why people around your experience level with like the AGF, the regional tournament, have stopped, like Jeff Woods and others, Randy couldn't even get a match, is they stopped getting a level playing field. Like you got to go to like an IBJJF Dallas or something like that to get somebody your own age, experience level, weight. I think we've talked about that before, but it's, like I have a problem with it when we start like, hey, man, just fight down 2 age levels, or which is not the case in you guys' matches. But I remember that guy. He was just a masters level guy, but he's probably early 30s, and he was. And the difference in an early 30s athlete competitor and let's say a 44, 45-year-old can be significant.
Yeah.
And it can be significant the other way too, man. You ever had some of those dudes like yourselves with the old man strength? I'm just kidding. You guys aren't old, but you know what I'm talking about. Like you run into somebody and they grab your wrist for 5 minutes and you're like, how are you doing that? Like I like Vince Trulock.
Yeah, but he's a carpenter.
He's a carpenter and he's old.
Yeah,
and he can hold on. He's been holding on to that hammer. But it's that as I've always honestly, like, some of the saltiest grapplers I ever went with were over 50. You think they'd like have a little bit less rigidity being older, but I don't know why. It seems like they get more rigid. Like I'm all about like movement and I want to pin you and stuff, but like also I'm trying not to just be like straining all the time as I get older doing jiu-jitsu, like, but I'm very pro having the different age levels at the sport, and then they're not being too much, not ever asking anybody to compete too far away from their own age division, because it's like those kinds of concessions, I don't even know if we should have them. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, just fight this adult.
Yeah.
Are you good with that? It creates a liability.
Well, and I think so. I'd offer like the other side would be is like if you're doing your jiu-jitsu really well and it's good, then it should work. It should work against anybody. So like as an older guy, and I really want to test my jiu-jitsu, and I get out there and I do an open, but the open or the absolute, whatever you want to call it, and I can go against adult, masters, and seniors at all levels. And if I take first in that, it's like, oh, maybe I've got something, validation of your jiu-jitsu, and then kind of testing that idea of like strength over technique, and see if your technique can overcome that strength of that younger, faster.
I kind of took that approach last year. I guess I'd have been 39, and I went in the adult division. And so, you know,
was absolute was all experience levels.
It was all masters.
Okay.
The one we did.
The one we did this past round was masters, so 30 and up.
Did they have an adults masters at all for you guys though? Because I didn't know. Somebody was asking me, and I don't remember if they
absolute.
That's what
yes, they did. Jerry was in that one.
Okay. Yes.
And that had a pretty good bit. Yeah, there was probably 8 guys in that one. That was good.
Because I was thinking that they were going to consolidate Jerry with you guys, just because that's what they do when there's not very big divisions.
But we had like 11 in ours. And by the time we actually got on the mat, it was 5. Because heck, one got injured no gi, and then the other guy in our weight division got injured, and so he was out. And then they lost another 2 or 3 along the way. So, just dropping like flies.
And that's one reason why I remember in the past, I've messaged them saying, put me in the biggest division, because I'm with you, Brian. I think I'd like to be matched up at someone kind of similar season of life and all that, age, rank, all that. But at the end of the day, you want matches. I mean, you're paying $90 to go down there. I don't want a match. I want as many matches as possible, because for me, I mean, everybody has a different why for competing. But for me, I'm looking to challenge myself and to learn more about my game, to break through some hurdles that I feel like I have, and to expose my flaws and my weaknesses, because that tends to happen pretty easily in competitions. And so I'm good with rolling, but it was nice I attempted to sign up for seniors, and that was kind of fun. And then, of course, it worked out where, it was masters, and that's good. But it's kind of the nature of the beast with small venue. I mean, it's just,
It is. As I said, Randy, a belt level or 2 up from you guys, was a brown belt, so 2, and close to your age, but he just couldn't. There was nobody there for him, and
there's only like 2 or 3 black or brown belts in the whole thing. I mean, there wasn't.
That is interesting. I feel like
Kevin Williams had a brown belt in his division.
Yeah.
White. I'd be curious to see. I feel like white belt's going to be your biggest, as far as AGF here. The ones in Conway. This is my only experience. But white belt tends to be the biggest, blue right there with it. But after that, it trickles fast. Like, I didn't see hardly
the belt level goes up and the age.
I mean, I saw maybe 2 purple. I mean, I hardly saw any purples and any browns, and I saw 2 black belts went. But I mean, I did purples and browns. It was pretty slim.
I was talking to Josh Root. He's a purple belt, but he's a smaller guy, so it's kind of weird. Like, so the smaller people have more people, and then the larger.
He is kind of a weight for a sweet size division. A lot of people are.
Yeah, he's in a good. So that 190 and below, you always get a lot of those people. But when you get like to the 235 and below, you'll get some people. But then the 235 and up, it's just like that's the one I'm in. You don't see a lot of folks in there. But
how much do you weigh, Justin?
I was about 230 when I went to the competition. I was trying to be in the 220 to 235. If I'm eating healthy, I'll be 225, 227. But when I found out, I joked with McMillian. I got bumped up to the big boys. I said, "Man, it don't matter anymore, man. I'm gonna eat some cookies."
Up to 999 pounds or something like that.
It's like weigh in, man. I'm not even worried about it. But actually, I weighed in. I weighed in at 228 that day. So,
nice.
Yeah. But Root was talking about he has to go to Tulsa and other places at his purple belt level just to get like enough matches.
Is that an AGF in Tulsa? Do you know if that's what he does?
It's a regional. Is that right? Well, I don't know what they do. I don't understand all
the nationals they do. I think it's regional, but I just that's always been their tournament that they've received the most pull on.
Yeah,
they do it as a 2-day event. This tournament was ran well. I was happy with when we got out of there, but I was afraid that we were going to get out of there later, kind of based off some of their scheduling. Just looking at the forecast, but. Some of their tournaments are doing 2 days now, and Tulsa Nationals being one of them. But Tulsa also always has good competition. They pull a lot from Texas, which we're AGS out of. They pull from Arkansas.
Is that the one they do in December?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. But there's always, man, I can't tell you how many times we've competed at Tulsa AGF. Maybe done a couple of Nagas down there, but they've never had an IBJJF there. So.
Yeah, but they have that new one they do now. The Fuji, I guess, does.
Yeah. They've done 2 in Northwest Arkansas now. The Fujis.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of competitions around if you want to go, but like Arkansas used to get a small pool to pull from. It's the only issue.
What's crazy is, I mean, AGF. They're having another grappling tournament at the Expo Center here in Arkansas. Here in a couple months, Grappling Industries. Yeah,
you saw that. Yep. Yeah, February 22nd, maybe.
But everybody that's doing that has AGF to thank for that. AGF is the first tournament that was a regional tournament, not just like a state ran or something like that, to bring an organized jiu-jitsu event to Arkansas. I was at the first one. I was at Jacksonville. I can't remember what year that was. Probably 2015. Jacksonville.
That young?
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't like so. Wow. Like for more times than not, me doing jiu-jitsu in the States. I mean, it would have been when I was a purple belt that the first tournament happened in Arkansas. I remember competing at purple belt, so probably 4 or 5 years ago. But before that, there we only had to travel, so it's nice. But then I wish they would space the AGS further out, 6 months apart on Arkansas. I think they would get more pull on that. This one was good. I thought this one's usually the big one. I thought this one's a little smaller than last year. I don't know what the stats are, or they just had it scheduled better and more spread out. And I wasn't there at the beginning of the kids either. Maybe a bunch of people left. Yeah. So, but they've really grown, going from I was at their first event to where they are now in Springfield, and AGF Brandon Motley competed at it. So I want to say it's blue belt, but they've really exploded. So, so you guys are in the same belt division in your weight class, right? Which you got consolidated. So what do you guys think about consolidating of weight class? It's kind of you at the same place on that versus the age division. You're just like, yeah.
So for me, it doesn't matter because I'm at the 99-pound level, the 199 all the way up. So like me consolidating to a lower weight class, that's an advantage for me. But I think I don't know what they think about that. Like some guy showing up, but because I was the only one in my division. And then I think that being consolidated was good because, like Justin said, like you go to get matches.
Yeah.
And I would have fought at purple or white or brown. I don't really care. I'd have fought whatever just to get a match and get that experience, to get that time on the mat outside of the academy and stuff like that. So that's what I'm there for, just to kind of get some time on the mat. But
so sorry for robbing you of that match in that 3-man bracket while we're on it, because that's what I wanted to kind of talk about. Is some of these weird oddities always come up, and particularly they tended to come up in just you guys' divisions, which they're scraping together.
Yes.
So you guys can get matches, but there's a 3-man bracket.
Well, it's unfortunate we actually had a 4-man bracket. So in there, it was a little bit of a bad situation because that's the one where Taylor, right?
Yep.
He and I were set to go against each other, and then McMillian and the other guy, which was perfect, right? Mm-hmm. So winners meet in the finals. Then Taylor drops out, or he didn't drop. I mean, he gets hurt, has to drop out, and so that's what put us in that spot. And it's funny because I was thinking about it afterwards, and I appreciate you doing what you did. It was the right thing, by the way, because I got to thinking, if me and you do that match,
yep.
And you beat me,
We're done.
But no, not necessarily, because technically that winner, I was thinking, would go to fight him, right? And I'm thinking, well, how does that work? That means you just all of a sudden got a double elimination bracket, which works out pretty cool. Like, sign me up for that one, right? Mm-hmm. So I did think that it was the right thing to do. It gave me a chance to go against somebody new, and it's just the way it worked out. Essentially, by that guy getting hurt, and I'd be interested how they do that with a 3-man bracket. Not on, they're having to come up with that on the fly because they didn't know he was hurt. I wonder what they do with the 3-man bracket typically. Do you know?
It could turn out the way it turned out with you guys, but you're supposed to get 2 matches, as far as I know, unless they've changed it. But I feel like even maybe that's just I think they do it. It's a 2-man bracket too, but and they've changed since the beginning. They've changed it, so I'm not quite sure what their standard is.
I mean, really, everything we're talking about is just the unfortunate nature of a smaller event. I mean, when you don't have as many people come in, and you end up with, because it worked out. Like, for example, we had 11 people in our absolute division, and then we ended up with 8, and then we ended up with 5. But you can work it out with 5.
Yeah.
You got some options. It's hard when you get down to 3. you know, it just becomes.
It really is. Two and three people divisions.
It is what it is.
Or one person division, you consolidate it, and it creates some weird issues because of this and that.
Yep.
This is the same division that the dude got headbutted in, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was
my match.
Yeah, that was our first match.
That was our first
Totally incidental.
Oh, yeah.
Incidental injury. But I felt like there's a few things surrounding that. Like, one, like, that tournament needs to do a better job at when someone gets injury about pulling the plug on that person competing anymore. Because here's what I would fear as a business owner may happen. I was telling somebody about this the other day, a couple of tournaments ago, and Clint Clark was the ref. Somebody was getting taken down and put their hand down behind them. But they were kind of turning so it didn't snap their elbow. But it hyperextended it.
Yeah.
And they screamed. That's a verbal disqualification.
Yes.
Which, your guy being like, oh, shit. Or like he just like in the middle of the match because he was tired, resorted to cursing about it. And it's like, dude, are you okay? Because you're down there laying on your belly underneath this dude swearing in a jiu-jitsu sport match, which I think there's no place for. I don't think you should. Coaches can talk to the referee. Athletes should be grappling, not talking, not anything. And I was like, man, like, okay, so whatever. But then after that, I think that was was that the match that the headbutt occurred in, or was it? Well, I thought that dude had a concussion.
He probably did because they said he went over to the side and he was kind of throwing up and was nauseous and having some trouble.
That was after we rolled.
Mm-hmm.
So that was after that bracket was done.
But he also said, like, during the match, like, he couldn't see and he couldn't focus.
Yeah,
I
mean,
even after the fight, the match was over like 2 minutes after the headbutt, and he was given a little time to recover, but he staggered when the match was over. And I was just like, But the thing with that guy who put his arm down, Clint was like, oh, let's get the medic to look at him. And then it was like, well, restart the match. And I was like, no, the match is over. You just stop to check on the health and well-being of somebody that verbally is they're disqualified by a verbal submission. Go talk to the owner. And they stayed with it. But like in my mind, here's how I think about it. I'm like, that student has a concussion or that person has a broke arm. They decide, even in their own fruition, that they want to keep competing. But then they have a brain injury and they die. Or it turns out, because this happened, like I remember one time we had Ryan Erickson. He would never tap to anything, if you don't remember him. But one night he wouldn't tap to Vince's arm bar, and Vince broke his arm. And he just like let it heal kind of funny and ended up finding out he broke his arm sometime later. Oh, well, that was on the AGF, Doc. I got these records and everything. They let me go back in and continued my match procedurally.
Yeah.
So if it was up to Clint say, that match would have gone on, even though it's against the rules, and then that person can then turn around and sue that corporation. They no more AGF.
Well, it's the same thing with the blood incident, which I'm sure you're going to want to talk about. But that's, I mean, you know, having some, you know...
I think I was freaking your wife is a nurse, so I don't think I could freak her out. But she was just like, I brought it up, and she was like...
Oh, yeah. She said she was telling you all about it. Like, you know, do they test? Yeah, this is...
Well, okay, so because of one incident in this state, in boxing, not even in MMA, every amateur MMA fighter now has to submit a blood test in the state of Arkansas.
Yep.
Grappling is not regulated as a state sport. Yep. Therefore...
Yeah.
So that would be in your absolute division, right? So that guy's injury had occurred in a previous match.
Yep.
His weight class.
So even if you were going by the rules, say two stops, they don't clarify on whether or not that's in the same match or a different match. But they stopped him twice in your match, correct?
They did. Yeah.
Second stop should have been a DQ. Whatever. But then he's bleeding on you later in another match. And it's like, I know you guys don't care, but it's like nobody cared until they realized that there had been this boxer from Florida that had falsified a blood test, come to Arkansas. They had tested positive for HIV in Florida, came here, submitted a falsified drug test as a pro to compete in boxing here. And this all comes out, and now everybody's got a test.
Yeah.
You know, all because one person broke the rules. But it's like, oh, people that break the rules, they don't go to jiu-jitsu tournaments, guys. Just fighting. That's my thing. It's like, those types of rules, they're in place because they create liability reasons. So I'm just like, man, bloodborne pathogens, hepatitis, HIV, whatever it is, like, I don't want any of my students to have to deal with it. I don't want to have to deal with it. It's like, this dude's bleeding all over the place. Don't just clean him up and let him keep going. That's wild, man. I was kind of like, I didn't make a big deal about it, but like after the fact, like, is it like, that's a little...
I know. I think, it's funny because we're both probably just in rolling mindset.
Yeah.
And then you process it later. Like,
well, and he probably was too. Dude, he was probably just like, I'll clean my mouth so I can finish this match.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Because he had a mouthful of blood.
Yeah.
But the first guy, our poor division, we had already dropped out a couple before we got to it. And then during the matches, even the first match, that was 2 other guys. That wasn't us.
No.
But he got a bump on his head. So they're out there cleaning him up. Oh, it was funny.
One later in the day like that, just like with Taylor.
Yeah.
Like I was texting him, he was telling me what's hurting. I was like, that hurts on me right now too. I was like, you need a Theracane, dog. Sent him a picture of my Theracane when I got home. I was like, I wish I would have bought the one with 2 hooks on it. They make one that's like got the S-curve. But later in the day, especially you get guys like Taylor, man, he's had, I don't remember how many MMA fights, but he's a veteran.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done this a lot. He's trained a lot. And that mileage starts adding up on the day, but then overall, right? That's why, man, that's why I like the IBJJF format, because you go and you're pretty much guaranteedly, if you go to like Dallas, you're going to get your age, weight, experience level, and you only go to absolute if you medal in your division.
Oh, wow.
So the absolute is
that automatically included? Like you pay an entry fee?
As far as I know, if you, this is, I'd have to triple check. It's been a couple years since we went to an IBJJF, but we've done a bunch of them. Is if you medal in your division,
you go to absolute.
You go to absolute.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't pay. Except Randy was texting me the other day. He's like, when he's saying he didn't have any matches, he's like, yeah, man, I just guess I won't get my free shirt that I'm paying for. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Jiu-Jitsu tournament's a weird place. Like, you are the entertainment, but you pay to provide the entertainment, and they charge people and you to take part in it. Like, all they furnish is literally mats and then those people that don't know the rules. And man, I will say that more than anything, it's like with me too. It's like at the end of the day, and my only job is to really know the rules and coach. But at the end of the day, my mind's melting. Luckily, I can still spot inconsistencies, even if I've been coaching all day. And I coaches me. I've coached like 30 people in a day before. But those referees do not, like that referee that we overturned the side mount reversals. We'll talk about that because you can only get points for a sweep from a guard. But that guy had been reffing all day. The other ref that we had the issue with not getting back mount points. Yep. Okay, so
I went back and looked at the video.
Further clarification on that match. I should have said something because I did not speak up about something.
Yeah.
You should not have been restarted in the back mount. You were down 5 points. It was 5-0. Is that correct?
I believe so.
You didn't get back mount points. You got over by out of bounds, but you had a collar grip.
I did.
That's a submission. You cannot be restarted in a submission. So they made a new rule, and I actually like it. They restart you from standing. They give you 2 points. So you should have been given 6 points.
Yeah, because I went back. So they talked to me at the sideline, and they said, "Hey, you have to hold back mount for 3 seconds." What's interesting is I went back because Brooke recorded it. It was 4 solid seconds, and we're not anywhere in danger of him. I mean, I found it very interesting. So when we went back to the middle, my opponent strategically shifted his hips so that my hooks were. I almost naturally went to that body triangle because I didn't want him. I wanted to control him, but he shifted it.
We're talking last like under 60 seconds.
Yeah, we were not in the same position. So essentially, I knew I was
didn't have the collar grip when you reset it.
And I told him. I mean, I told the ref. I said, "Hey, I had a choke, and I don't think it was interesting because it all happens quick, but we started in a completely different position. I mean, you know what I mean by that." And so I do. The good news is, I mean, I was
in a weird spot. I didn't want to say anything because you didn't have any points on the board. And I was freaking out about you not getting back mount points and trying to call for that. I didn't want to try and call for the other rule they weren't observing, which is you can't get restarting a submission. You have to restart them in the middle from standing, which would have made the score 6-5, Justin, with 60 seconds left to go. But still, when we start restarting from standing, anything could happen. I just because you didn't have any points on the board, and I was like, we need to get a submission win. So I was happy with you restarting on the back mount.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got the submission. It was fine, but that was interesting. I don't know how the ref missed that. How he counted.
He was many refs from that mat. Many complaints from that ref on that mat that day. One, I observed. Two, I don't recognize that ref. I hadn't seen him. Doesn't mean he just might not ref in our region. Yeah. But there was some other issues I'd seen.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there, but that was a weird match. Weird match for that reason. And then that was also, was it your match that your match that he was cussing in? And then his
I think
coaches,
it was my match. That and was then the one where he,
well, I was just like, because when they were trying to, because it's like, well, he won. It's like, yeah, but we almost just lost.
Yeah.
If they would have restarted it from standing and not given you back mount points, you would have probably lost.
Yeah.
Or you would have thrown him, got on top, got some points, and it would have been like a 1-point victory or something. Or but they still, it was still, you were 0 points on the board.
Well, yeah.
So it's just a weird match. And then I'm just like, dude, if you guys want to be technical by the rule book, when your guy opened his mouth, he should have been disqualified.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not here to talk to you. I'm here to be sure these guys do the rules. But I thought that coach was wanting to fight me or something over all this. And I was just like, dude, I'm just not talking to you anymore. I don't know. I didn't swear at him. I didn't say anything to offend him. I was only trying to communicate with the officials and get the Chris Westfall or Chris Carlino over there so they could deal with it. But that's the stuff that I don't like about these tournaments. Is these alpha male, and it's just like, dude, there's rules. Let's just follow them.
It's just the nature of people.
Human errors.
Anytime someone challenges that you might have done something wrong, the nature of people is, it's very resistant to that. You telling me I did something wrong? No, I didn't. It's this instant defense of. And that's part of it. But you did the right thing. There were points missed, and I appreciate that me and McMillian were talking about that later. It's like our mindset is rolling, and we appreciate you were doing what's right, and you did it respectfully, and that's all we can ask from you as a coach is to we can't play that role. I can't be sitting there telling the ref hey, why didn't? So I just. Okay, he wants to reset us from here. And I don't know. It's interesting because I actually, I don't know the rules. I kind of go into this turn. I'm like, I'm either going to submit this guy or it is what it is.
Me. You saw what Edward said. He's like, well, those other matches went to points, so I didn't technically lose.
What's interesting is when he said reset, not knowing the rules may have worked in my advantage because I just went to the middle and laid down. I worked hard to get that dude's back. I'm keeping that dude's back.
Instead of, hey, don't we restart from standing?
Yeah, I just laid down. So he came over there. I took his back. I was like, hey, now I have Mark. I didn't want to lose that position. I feel like I worked hard for that. So.
Yeah. Well, and you want to be compensated for the positions you work hard. Yeah. That would be, imagine you hitting that sweet Heza and them not giving you 2 points.
Did I get 2 points for that?
Yeah, you should have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But okay,
I don't know that they did. Did you?
No. The first Heza you didn't. I'm talking about the Heza in your last match.
Oh yeah, he got the points for that one.
But there's one where he kind of scrambled and got up.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Because you got the 3 second rule. You got to hold them for 3 seconds. Stay on top for 3 seconds. If you pass the guard, you got to get past the guard and flatten them, right? But that brings us to some 2 points, 2-point rules. You can get 2 points for 4 things in Jiu-Jitsu since AGF makes all these fancy rules that nobody else recognizes. Which I will say they did. They're calling now in the IBJJF and ADCC for a push-out rule. You're getting close to out of bounds. 2 points for me, or whatever it is. You wanna stand close to out of bounds? I'm just gonna push you out of bounds, and you're gonna be penalized for fleeing. Right?
Yeah.
So AGF is trying to do that with you went out of bounds while submissions on. That's a controversial issue. Like, what do? Can you restart them in the submission? The momentum's because, like what you said, like you got restarted in a different position technically. And I will say too, it's a liability to restart somebody. So let me restart you in this fully hyperextended arm bar. Are you dudes ready? When I say go, you're going to break this dude's arm. Ready? There's some holes in that system. Yeah. So I like what AGF has done actually, and the industry is trying to solve that problem right now. But in the sport, you get 2 points for a takedown or a throw, single leg, double leg, he's a Guruma, Harai gauche, whatever. You also get 2 points for the knee on belly. Okay, so if you hypothetically you throw somebody to hip throw them, they land in front of you, you put them in knee on belly, it's 4 points. Okay. The third thing, or fourth thing, if you're AGF, you get 2 points for getting restarted standing, is a sweep, which has to occur from a guard. So the best way somebody explained it to me is if you're under side mount, you cannot, that they're like, oh, you shouldn't have been there, bro. So you can't get reversal points if you reverse from underside to side. You only get side control points for passing the guard. So that being the case, let's say here's where it gets confusing though. Let's say I escape side and I put you in knee on belly, 2 points. I escape side, I put you in mount, 4 points. I escape side, I take your back, 4 points. It's only when I escape side and put you inside or land or like replace my guard or something like that nothing happens, nothing occurs. So this was in your absolute match.
Yeah.
Okay, so what had happened, this is funny too. First off, I need to learn Portuguese. Okay, because they don't listen when I speak my English Arkansas words. But when that Brazilian guy came over there and started freaking out, they just shut everything down to talk to him pretty much. That's how it works at the IBJJF. So, I mean, there's the industry standard for you. Like, I remember one time the ref was like, that day was like, at IBJJF's like pans or something, like, I'm not talking to you. And then right before Cora's match, or after one of Cora's matches, she had just fought this girl from Galvao's gym. Angelica Galvao was coach. And he's over there like, she's like freaking out about something in Portuguese. We don't know what she's saying. Something about retying the belt or something. And she's freaking out on this ref. And I was just like, dude, you're not supposed to talk to her. Like you refused to talk to me earlier. But it's just like those sort of inconsistencies. But what had happened is you had okay. So previously you were under. Let's see who got the points first, because you and the other athlete were awarded side mount reversal points. Both of you were.
Yeah.
You were rewarded second. That's how it went. Okay. So then this Bruno Caesar guy starts freaking out. Oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, yes, I know. I'm in the middle of saying the same thing because of this. So it was actually him throwing a fit about it and overturning it. So I went over there when they were talking to it. So the match ended up being 3-2 or something like that.
Yeah. It was like, yeah.
So, but the ref was like, admitted to messing up on the second one that Bruno was freaking out about. So I just said, Chris Westphal, that right there proves that he does not know this rule that I just explained to you guys. He doesn't know. He's uncertain. You can only get 2 points for sweeping from a guard. Did my guy or that guy have a guard in either instance? No. There you go. That's all I had to say. And then it was like, because this second instance that occurred proved that he didn't know the rules. So the officiating in general is it's human to err, but these types of errors, they got to go away, in my opinion. And I'm not saying I have the answers, but it's like that dude had been on the mats reffing all day.
Well, they rolled all the mats up.
Yeah. I was in one of my matches, and it's funny. I mean, you're thinking about the roll, obviously, but I thought I remember seeing, like, man, I saw the
plastic fences.
Yeah, the fences, man. They're just rolling by.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, okay, all right, getting us out of here. That's good,
man. Always too.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's always intense like that because you're like the last match.
Yeah.
everybody's watching, everybody's freaking out, especially when it's an exciting match.
Yeah.
Like I've been in those matches at the end of the day when they're tearing things down. Everybody's watching, and it adds like a little bit of anxiety to it. Honestly, I mean, but it's just like all the focus is on you instead of you and like 6 other mats. You know, it's exciting though. You know, like where else can you go do something like this? I mean, there's stuff out there, but for people that get out of high school, and I know you had some college sports too, but then what? Like, what is it? CrossFit? There's some things you can do, but like not like this, not where you can like go still be on a team, get some individual rewards and improvements. And that's what's so cool. I tell everybody, I'm like, I give them a weird analogy. Martial arts is kind of like golf. You practice with the team, but when you go out, it's just you. You know, when you go compete in golf, it's you. It's yours. You're the one trying to do well and make a name for yourself or whatever. And like, yeah, the team will look good, team points and all that, but it ain't nobody out there swinging the club for you. And that's uniquely different to basketball, baseball, where it's like you got a bunch of people out there working as a team at the same time. Whereas at the gym, we're all coming together working as a team. But really, you're there for your own reasons, and especially when you go out to compete, that is you. That's all your individual sport. So, you know.
Yeah.
Anything else exciting happen we're not talking about?
What happened?
With the bloodborne pathogens, the side mount reversal,
I'm a little disappointed
the blood, the headbutt.
I had my opportunities to. If I won my first absolute match, we would have faced in the finals, and I'm a little sad that didn't happen. I wanted competition, McMillian, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It's a little different than rolling.
Dude, what probably would have happened is you would have been doing this.
I would have gotten thrown.
And then there would have been a throw. And
I would have gotten thrown. I'm 100% certain I would have been thrown.
Yeah.
But
that last guy just sat down. He's like, I'm sitting down. I was like, all right.
Dude, okay, let's talk about that guy. I was impressed by that guy. I've been bragging on him this week at the gym because, like, I was impressed by you too, dude, because, like, for you to surf out of his lift like you did, that's impressive. Like, that's impressive sensitivity because he lifted your hips up. Let's say those are your hip bones. You were like,
oh, yeah.
You just surfed out of it. And I do that on my low-level passing game a lot. It was almost like you did a little mini back step.
Yeah.
I do that same thing when people were like ukiwazaing me. I will kind of surf out. And I remember the first time I saw somebody do that, I was a purple belt. The guy's name was Dan Vottendust. He's a guy who's in here from D.C., worked at the nuclear plant. He was a purple belt, super legit. His coach was one of Andre's black belts. And I threw him with ukiwaza at the time, which is like my jam. I was landed on everybody in tournaments, and he did that, and I was just like that meme with the puppet. It was like, how'd you get out of that, dude? But great sensitivity. And then on the match that he went with you, he did the same thing and dropped you down into that arm bar. And then, too, you did textbook about I didn't feel like you strained your back to achieve posture on that, but you did good about getting your hips up under this, like you block a hip throw or something, and shook him off. And that was pretty deep arm bar. I felt like the entry that he did, I was like, that's creative. I haven't thought about. I've seen people will do that and they'll drop you into armbar, triangle, and omoplata, and then in jiu-jitsu they call it the sweep, and they call it the sweep you into the armbar. But the helicopter sweep or something like that, I've seen. It's been a long time since I've been to a seminar where we learned that's in the Hickson book too, though, which I found, by the way. I lost my Gracie Jiu-Jitsu book, and I was like, "Man, do you have this book, dude? Did I loan it to you?" There's too many martial arts books in there now.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it, but it's one of those techniques. It's iconic. But I thought that was cool how he was strategizing using I like the 2 feet in the hip tomonagi anyway. I like foot in the middle, and then I like 1 foot on either side. But that's a pretty cool little strategy.
He liked the tomonagi.
yeah, he did a good job. And then I was really happy. I had I'd been rolling with Josh Root, and
He's good.
Yeah, he is, and he was helping me. Somehow one day, I don't know, I got his gi through his leg, and I'd kind of wrap, so this leg's behind, and I kind of had the the gi there, and I was trying, so I basically ended up standing up to a single leg.
Yeah.
And like we rolled like 3 times, and I kept catching it. He was like, dude, you need to keep, he's like, whatever it is, like I have a really hard, like I couldn't take him down because he's so, I mean, he's absolutely got a lot of balance, and he's strong as an ox. And but he was
great wrestling.
But he's a great wrestler. So, but he told me, he's like, hang on to that. So I kind of took that. He said, that's really good. He's like, man, don't. He's like,
so you're like in half guard when you're doing this, or what?
So he did the little Tominagi, or tried the Tominagi. I did the little float out.
Mm-hmm.
It was something to a scramble, and I think I did get in half guard.
I remember you standing up, yes.
And at one point, I knew, I was like, if I can get this guy's gi around through his leg, I'm good. And I got it. And so I'd been working with it. I got it, and I stood up to the single leg, and I thought, this is perfect. But man, I hesitated, and just like, it's what you do. You learn from your game. But in that hesitation, you know what he did? He did the counter, which is perfect. I mean, he did it's like a sumigeshi maybe. You just sit down and just roll them back. And he hit me with it. I thought, yep, I waited. I mean, I was like, I missed an opportunity. I worked hard to get that single, and then I just, in that quick hesitation, he got it. That was good.
That's too, man. And I know, like I thought that this AGF was, I thought you had fewer like head scratching moments in your own personal time out there. Like before, I know that you had some, like a couple of frustrating instances in a couple of your matches, and those things always happen. But I felt like just like in your last 2 tournaments, it was kind of like we talked about that line, that spectrum of aggression and complacency. And there's always going to be those micro little places where you should have done something. But man, that like was way less apparent. Like I felt like honestly last time, like you might have been a little too relaxed. And I've done that too.
I think you're right.
I have done that too, because you're trying to be relaxed because you've probably had a match where it's like, man, I was way
That's the one where I was going, it might have been Taylor, and I was real relaxed, and I was like, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to chill. And next thing you know, Brian's yelling, you got 1 minute. And I knew I was down in points. I was like, 1 minute?
But you were so chill that day.
Like, 1 minute, I thought, I didn't realize.
That was great. Like you took.
But it was probably to a fault. Yeah, to a fault.
Well, in a sport. Yeah, but dudes, like, that's the strategy to fight. Like, I mean, everybody wants to say this, like, that has lost a match or whatever, but it's like, ultimately, we're all probably really training for no time limit situations. That's what I'm way more into. Is like, and for this is self-defense, you got to act that way. Like, imagine getting so tired you can't defend yourself in a fight or flight situation, and you have an adrenaline dump, and you got lactic acid, and somebody is beating on you.
Yeah.
You're going to want to be playing that version of the last tournament, you know? So it's, that's an interesting spectrum. And I remember somebody telling me when I was super early on, they said it might have been during, there's a fine line between complacency and over-aggression. And it's not even, it's just like, man, okay, I was a little too over-aggressive, got tired, overshot my guard pass, whatever it is, or man, I didn't react quite fast enough and they passed my guard, or I got sumigate, or whatever it is. And it's just it's a weird, it's like a universal. It's just always there, and you're always trying to manipulate to be sure you were acting the right way in the right time. So
it was fun. I enjoyed watching McMillian throw people all over the place at every match he had.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That was good.
Except for the last one, because he said
yeah. Well, what was funny is, like, in that dude's mind, that dude probably didn't know you, unless he'd been watching. Probably didn't know you had a judo background. Probably thought that he had like I mean, the dude lifted you up all the way off the ground on that Tominagi. Luckily, you did that thing we're talking about.
What did you say to him when he picked you up like that?
There we go.
Oh, I told him, he put me on, I goes, man, you got really strong legs. And he's like, he goes, and he stopped. He goes, I'm just wearing myself out. And I was like, all right. So you're not supposed to talk on the mat, I know, but we said some stuff.
Dude, I'm fine with that. Like, I just get frustrated with yourself after the match or whatever. Like, I don't like the bantering back and forth. I actually think that's sportsmanship. Yeah. Like, why I had a problem with that other dude opening his mouth and is basically because he was just swearing and because he was tired and frustrated with himself. And it's like, dude, don't bring that out here. It's like, I actually do like to see a little, like, I thought that was sportsman. I thought that was sportsmanship. And it's like, I couldn't hear what you dudes are saying, you know. Yeah. I'm not, and then too, they put that on the spectrum. We had this guy in our association that he gets real nervous when like we have our team competitions and stuff, so he talks the whole match. And I had a match with him at our team tournament at Purple Belt, and I did not appreciate that. And
like talking to you, the whole time?
like trash talking. And so we have our little annual
not
team
just like,
tournament.
oh, that's interesting.
Like just narrating the match and everything. And like I remember at Purple Belt, like I don't really get along with this guy. I'll tell you another funnier story from the last team tournament. But I ended up sweeping him and mounting him. And this is before covering people's mouths was cool.
Yeah.
But because it's cool to do now. Now you just smother choke him or whatever. But I mounted him and then I just put my hand on his mouth. And I was like, stop. This, like, it was like 4 minutes of him just like, and honestly, it was frustrating me. Like, I was like, the dude was kind of older, strong, real strong dude, real tense. It's like, and he's played jiu-jitsu that way his whole career. It's not going to, and he's like, well, he's probably 50 now. It's not going to be, that's not conducive to long-term play, I don't think. Like, the constantly being rigid when you roll. And there's that medium of like, man, I gotta be relaxed, but I gotta be rigid. I gotta be able to surf out of the Tomonagi. I gotta be able to go with things, and rigidity kills your timing. But anyway, well, what anything else exciting from the tournament we want to chat about? Overall review, what do you give it out of 10 for your experience personally?
I always enjoy AG. I mean, I haven't experienced anything else, so it's hard. I don't have anything to compare it to. But I mean, I'd say
honestly, it's probably the best in the industry, other than the issues we talked about.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. I don't know. I mean,
so like I would judge it by what your goal is. You know, as far as a competitor. Like if I was going to actually talk about it, I'd be talking about it from the perspective of, as a competitor, this is what I'm looking for. Well, AGF fits the bill for me. It gives you a chance to go out, test your skills against somebody, kind of see where you are and see how you're faring up against other schools. And then that's fun. It's good. And pick out some things you need to work on for next time and start training for that and kind of work your game, so to speak. But I think, you know, each tournament's a little different. It kind of depends on what you want to do. Like you go on those fight to win or those no-gi only things. You know, you're going out there to show your skills and how dominant you are. That's not something that I don't think I'd be that interested in personally, but I think for a lot of people, that's they like that stuff. But for AGF, I give it a real high ranking just because I think it fits the bill for like the jiu-jitsu atmosphere. And I would always challenge people maybe to hit up an IBJJF or hit up like a large scale event where you're going like a nationals, because when you go to one of those things, the atmosphere is different. There's so many people, so many things going on, and like it's a different thing because you get to. And not dissing AGF, because AGF, in my opinion, is probably the best tournament that I've been to as far as jiu-jitsu is concerned. But
I mean, and honestly, I would rank them above the. It's going to sound crazy, but I would rank them as the best tournament organization in the United States.
Yeah.
Maybe that I know of, even in spite of any perceived flaws that they have.
Yep.
Because I've done a bunch of IBJJFs, not as many as AGFs, but that's for a reason. And I kind of. In all of this, and just like for guys like you, I'm pro IBJJF, but like we're like what you're talking about, like the adult division, like that 18 to 30, that is the industry of like, you want to go see what the sport looks like. And I will say the Masters division is changing more and more because you're getting people, Tom DeBlass and all these people they're of that age. And think about how many of these 30 plus year old competitors are still dipping back down into the adult division.
Well, it's like they have a Masters division in Las Vegas for, I guess that's
Masters Senior Worlds.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I mean, that'd be kind of cool to go to, just to kind of go do. But I think for me, like the next evolution for me as a jiu-jitsu guy is, as you get more rank, you're gonna have to go to bigger tournaments. And just to get competition.
You know, there's Mike just told me about it. There's an IBJJF coming up in Austin. Let me see what the date is on that.
Now, with that, you have to pay a yearly membership, correct? And then
only
the tournament fee.
I believe it's brown belt and above that you have to do the annual fee, but I could be wrong. They might have changed that.
That would be cool.
Austin.
Well, and I think it depends on what your goal is. Like
Into
if you're
January.
a hobbyist and you just kind of want to get out there and test yourself, man, AGF, that's money
All the way.
there.
Right in your backyard,
Yep.
2 times a year.
It's great. And then if you want to get a little more serious and start like running the roads and hitting the circuit, I mean, there's tournaments you can go to all over the place. Hell, you can
Every
even go to all the
weekend.
AGF every weekend if you want to.
They're starting to run a tournament in 2 different cities. Not a lot of weekends, but a few weekends a year.
Wow.
They're doing like Brandon Quicker will be over in Arizona or something, and they're doing one in Missouri.
IBJJF does an interesting breakdown. They'll have Masters 1, Masters 2.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to figure out when Masters 2 is, or 3. I don't know.
I'm 40, so whatever's
Yeah,
40
same
and
here.
up.
I used to
I don't
know
think it's 40
vaguely.
though. It's like an odd one. It's like 40. I think we're Masters 2, but Masters 3 starts at like 42 or 43 or something interesting like that. It's an odd breakdown, but
Yeah.
so yeah.
That and the weight classes too. If I could just, and we'll wrap up here because I think it's 3:05. We gotta get you out of here in a second. But I think that breaking that down would, and I'm pro doing this in all combat sports, and it may seem like a crazy idea, but assess this from my point of view. We have a boxing club. We've even competed in judo a couple times. John's got a judo tournament coming up. There's AGF. There's IBJJF. There's these different jiu-jitsu tournaments. There's MMA. There's kickboxing. And none of that is unified in any way. Not even the rules. But I'm just talking more like weight classes. For everything I just mentioned, I can't remember who's middleweight. Like, I remember middleweight IBJJF's 181. Couldn't tell you what it is. I think it's 175 to 190 in AGF. But it's different. Middleweight and mixed martial arts is different. You take, then you get like some will have like super middle heavy. The weight classes that don't even exist in other organizations. They call them different things. And if we could just unify some things like weight classes, unify some things like rules more across the board. I like some of the stuff AGS done, but converting their no-gi over time instead of belt level, whenever, like IBJJF does the no-gi on belt level. Like, you're purple belt. You could do all these submissions. You can't do crushers or slicers and knee bars. Can't do that till brown belt. But that's belt assigned. It's like, have you been training 4 years or 5 years in the AG? You gotta convert the time. So like literally like this time, because we train all subs, it was like, okay, Edwin's been training for like a year and a half. Like, where's this card? I gotta look up. There's no service. And I'm trying to like figure out what the rules are. Edward's out there going for like heel hooks, and I'm like, can he do this? I don't know if he can. But just because he's been training a couple years, I don't remember when they started throwing heel hooks out. Because it used to be you couldn't do, if I'm not mistaken, when I was doing no-gi, heel pro was when they started letting you do the heel hook, which was 4 years and above, but they've restructured a little bit since then. So I remember I did delayed doing leg locks at no-gi for a while because in IBJJF there are no heel hooks ever.
So that's interesting because to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you have about a 10-year time window before you get it, unless you're just like super gifted and you hit it before then. But to be a pro in no-gi, that's 4 years of training, which I would equate to more like a black belt level or a brown belt level.
I don't really know what their justification has been on going with time on that, but I think pro now is 5 years and above. But it opens, I will say this, because it's not regulated by their gi rank, and it leads to cheating in some instances. People that don't train leg locks will sandbag and compete in the division where they're not going to get leg locked. We had this instance occur with a student that used to train with us, and they got suspended from the AGF for 1 year.
Wow.
Because I was like, I'd given the student a blue belt 3 years earlier, and they moved, got a purple belt, and compete in a division under in no-gi where they had competed with me when they had their blue belt 3 years period. They'd moved up a belt, had been training the whole time, and had done in like intermediate or something. Had done advanced, but competed back in intermediate, a division under where they had And I was just like, here's the screenshots of the tournament in 2015. And this like broke, it was a Tulsa tournament, broke it all down. And I was just like, there's where I gave that student their blue belt at this team thing. Here's all his dates on everything. He cheated. This is what your divisions say. This is what your rules say because it's no-gi time thing. And they chased it down, and it's like this kid's like 22 years old or something. But they ended up trying to, like, his mom was trying to get him not suspended and stuff. I'm just like, dude, I'm like trying to get a lifetime ban over here. Like, this guy knowingly cheated and entered the division with white belts. Dustin Filial was in the division, and he won. Like, submitted both of the people in the division, but it's like, that's a liability too.
Yeah,
there are the times so you don't get somebody out there get mauled. So,
well, and that's the problem with promotions. A lot of times is it's like, I think a blue belt's this, you think a blue belt's that. So you go to a competition and you're like, my blue belt's not.
I think
like your blue belt.
I think a blue belt has a fourth dan in judo. Well, I mean that too, you know. It's like, but due to the industry rules, there's nothing to be said about your situation.
When I was a white belt, I had to compete at blue belt level because I had a shodan in judo. I have a yodan, I'm a fourth dan in judo, but because of my black belt in judo, I always compete. I've never competed in a white belt class, so I was like just doing jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, all right. So blue belt, my first couple competitions, like, all right, you got to go compete at blue belt level. All right, that's cool. So
and I kind of agree with that.
And no, it was fine because the competition for me was good, you know, because my ground game wasn't. I mean, it was on par with a blue belt, but at the same time, it was a good thing they did, because I think that made it a more even playing field for the people.
For sure. Well, dudes, I appreciate you coming over on short notice because we just had the tournament on Saturday. It's always good to talk about this stuff right after it happens, too. So, proud of you, dudes. I know y'all got to get places, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up, and we're signing off.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Thanks,
yes,
guys.
Sir.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it, dudes.
Oh, yeah, man. That's fun. Thanks for coaching us up.